you've got numerous people shooting back and shooting weapons, what's the likelihood of bystanders, unintended targets getting hit? And does that mean that my right to defend myself then trumps another person's safety?
Well, I'll start with that, in a sense that no, another person's safety does not, but that person's safety does not trump your right to defend yourself either. Because you have a right, and I'm not even going to say a constitutional right, it is a basic human right to defend yourself, regardless of what some government tells you you can and can't do. You can defend yourself, and that's there. So someone's right to being safe, yes. You know, when I teach my J101 classes, my Intro to Criminal Justice, I always start. We always weigh public safety and individual liberty. Which is more important when we're telling people they can and can't do something like that? Yes, I understand why we would try to make the argument of not being able, or that, well, if everybody has a gun, then everybody's going to somehow start shooting it if there's an active shooter. And you know what? I don't think that's the case. Let's go back to the Umpqua Community College thing. There was a person in that, at least one, that was armed. And you know what he did? He was an Air Force veteran, somebody that knew how to use a gun, and he locked the door of his room. And if that idiot would have stormed in, he would have engaged him. Is that self-defense by somebody that's trained? It sure is. Why do you think a police officer carries a gun? For the beauty of it? For the extra weight around their hip for 30 years? It's for self-defense, no other reason. And that self-defense is there for obviously themselves and a third party, okay? That's why they carry a gun. So this sense that here we are all going to be, you know, having to dodge bullets, and people are going to be running to try to be the hero. There is no proof of that happening at any of these situations. And it's sad that this young man at Purdue didn't have a gun to defend himself. Because, you know, if I'm standing there and I can sense that this person may be going to do whatever it is that they're going to do, I might be able to defend myself if I'm armed. But if I'm standing there lollygagging along with whatever lab equipment I have, and he pulls out a gun, then I'm getting a bullet in my head free of charge, right? Without any type of recourse or being able to do what I need to do. So to say that he is not able to defend himself, I understand when you say, well, people come out of nowhere. Yep. And you know what? There are police officers that are armed, that have guns, that are executed, that can't defend themselves. And we're not going to say, well, you shouldn't have a gun because, yeah, there is the chance that you wouldn't be able to defend yourself. Or, you know, that somebody could put a bullet in your head and take your gun. We would never even dream of saying that. And if somebody would, then they need to have their sanity checked. And it says also, when we talk about the upset student or the issues about the faculty shooting, I want to know, did that happen on a campus where they said you can't have a gun? Because there is absolutely nothing in place on this campus right now that would prevent somebody from taking a gun into KO 100 and lighting somebody up. Tell me where there's a police officer standing at the gate or standing at the door with some type of metal detector that's looking for weapons and stuff coming in. No, that's not going to happen. Somebody wants to go in the library and light somebody up, they're going to do it. And I don't mean to say that, you know, somebody's going to be running, but when we're talking about self-defense, you know, that is the main argument here. And it should be the main argument. And whether or not you're able to properly defend yourself. Because if I'm sitting in a faculty meeting and I see somebody acting stupid, I'm going to be able to defend myself. And if they take me out, you know what? God said today's your day. But if they take out the 3 faculty members next to me, he's not getting me. Understand? Because no, you don't have the time to dial 911 and get the chief and Chad over here to help you. Okay? I'm okay with shutting and locking the door. I'm 100% behind that. Shut it, lock it. I would never tell anybody to run and engage. I might, because I have a little different training. But I would never tell anybody run and engage. You know, that you would hide, seek cover, and then defend yourself if you should need to, okay, in that instance. And I think that's, I wrote down a couple other things here. Oh, we shouldn't worry about an active shooter. You know, we were talking about that before. We shouldn't have to worry, but you should be worried whether or not you're prepared. Whether or not you're prepared. We somehow also relate this self-defense thing to somebody coming in and lighting everybody up in an active shooter. That's not the case. How many other crimes are there out there that take place, felonies, that you may have to use a weapon to defend yourself? And it's not only about somebody walking in and shooting a bunch of people. I mean, self-defense is a basic human right, and I think it's wrong that we're preventing people, competent people, from using every means possible to defend themselves.
Okay, John? Sorry. John, we need to move on, you guys, so.
Sorry.
So, no problem.
Took all my arguments.
We want to get some audience participation later also.
So, everybody in here is a student, obviously, except, you know, the faculty. But, you know when you go through your orientation and you sit down and you watch the video of how things work, and then they explain safety. And one thing that I thought was very interesting is that what to do if there is an active shooter or somebody trying to hurt you. First, you gotta take your briefcase and you gotta hide behind the desk. And so when he finds you and shoots at you, you can defend yourself using the shield and then hit them. To me personally, I'd rather have a firearm to defend myself, because self-defense is a human right, than use my briefcase or my book bag. I mean, I probably could stop a bullet with how many books I got, but you get the point. She said there's two main things, a mass shooter and then the target in mind. And you kind of say bad grades, I wouldn't necessarily say equals active shooter or target in mind, but there are, like Tim said, there are opportunities where you don't have a chance to defend yourself, but the people beside you do. And to kind of narrow it all down, I do think there is an opportunity to do so.
Okay, so Scott, since Scott didn't get a chance to chime in, Scott, we'll move on to the other questions.
I was just going to say, you would agree, well, it seems to me that if you're talking about self-defense, then really what you need to do is you need to focus on protection of the campus, which means then that you need to have it basically sort of like a prison in a sense, right? Because if you want to be totally safe, that's what you're going to have. Because anybody, if somebody wants to kill you, they're going to kill you, right, Tim?
Sure.
I mean, even if that person is under police, even if that person has a restraining order, there are police around. If an ex-husband wants to kill an ex-wife, he's going to do it regardless, right?
Why not?
No matter how much, you know. And now,
I'm well aware of the motivated defender argument.
If you want to kill somebody, you can use a drone, you can use any number of different things.
I'm well aware of the motivated defender argument.
So that means that if we're really going to be safe, then we need to have police at the doors of all the buildings on campus. We need to have bomb-sniffing dogs because, hey, I could have a bomb in this room right now, and you could all be armed, and that wouldn't help you at all, would it? Because in 5 minutes, you'd be dead, because it's on a timer. I wouldn't have to do anything.
Right. But, I mean, we shouldn't look at it as that sort of scenario where as a big safety issue overall and campus safety issue overall, as a sense that I get to defend myself, so it's related to overall campus safety. No, that's not how it is. It's self-defense, you know, being able to defend yourself should something arise, not just an active shooter, but some other issue that may take place. And I'm all right, you don't want to carry a gun, don't carry a gun. But some people want to. Some people want to be able to have that just in case something should happen. And I'm not saying that that you're likely to even be a victim of a violent crime, because you're not. But what if that scenario should raise its ugly head and you're standing there looking like, oh, I wish I had my gun today, I could have really done this or stopped this. Understand? I know the whole issue about locking the campus down. That's not what anybody is saying at all, in a sense that we need to make this in razor wire and into a prison and keep everybody out except for those with certain biometric type of entrance authority. We don't need that. I'm saying basic self-defense premise. That's the argument. It should be.
Okay, guys, we're gonna move on to the next question. We can perhaps come back to this, so, because we're gonna be going back and forth, and do want to get through the questions and then have some discussion with you guys, the audience. So, okay, so the next one, do you feel that this decision should be made democratically by either the students or the citizens of the state of Indiana, or any state for that matter, or should it be left up to the university officials? Explain your reason. Should it be left up to you and I as in a democracy, or university officials, or a referendum? I'm ad-libbing a little bit. Referendum or whatever. So, and what's your rationale in terms of this issue?
Well, as the school takes the liability in the event of an active shooter incident, and as the school gets the reputation affiliated with any kind of violence, and as law enforcement here on campus, we're a lucky school to have actual law enforcement instead of security on campus. I believe that the decision should be left up to university officials and our police department on campus. Sometimes we don't, and sometimes life is not a democracy. These are the people that are taking actually the biggest risk. They're the ones that are, how can I say, they're not only dealing with the loss of life, they're dealing with liability, they're dealing with the implications of what happens if you have a gun, carry on campus law or carry on campus rules. These are the people that stand the most to lose and should have the most voice.
Okay. John? Or
Ryan.
Ryan.
I'm not so sure how I should answer this question, because by asking it, it essentially thinks that, well, if we were to make such a decision, who should make the decision? I would venture to say I don't think it's a decision that we should make. I think,
Well, who should make it? There's got to be a decision made. Who should make it?
as far as yes, no,
Yes.
I don't know. I wasn't prepared. I don't know. I think it should be, I would venture to say, probably university.
It's like administration, not faculty and staff and students.
Right.
Okay.
As Ms. Glosser said, those who have the most to lose might have the loudest voice, though I don't know that that's a position I would stick with. I don't know that I like the question. I'd rather not answer it.
Sounds like a politician. No, just kidding. Just kidding. So, Scott?
No, I would have answered it, just in a very circular way.
I'm very proud to be your governor.
Right, Scott. So, Scott?
I think
proud of you, my
that because this is a state university, that this should be a decision that is left to the taxpayers of Indiana, which means it should go to the voters of Indiana. And it should probably be on what do they call those things, a ballot?
A referendum?
Yes, a referendum, and let the people of Indiana decide.
Okay.
I think it should be a policy decision from Indiana University, the particular university. I do think it should be a policy decision. I just think the policy should be different than what it is. So I do, and based on sound logic and research, not emotions and feelings, okay, at all.
Okay. John?
I'd say mine is fairly simple, since it's a public school, not a private school, and it's government owned. I think that necessarily would make it a state issue and a state choice, so that if they decide whether or not we should carry, I think that should be their decision. But on the other hand, it's this thing called we the people, so we should be able to make the decisions to whether or not if we want to carry, and therefore I think the state should decide.
Okay. So, and some of the next question, a lot of you guys have already answered this, so I'm gonna proceed to the next one after that. So, does the size of our campus, you guys, influence your position on the issue? Because I'm like the panelists, I feel safe on campus. I've been there since 2003, and so I mean I feel somewhat insulated. And so, does the size, say if we were like at Bloomington or like maybe in a major city, New York, Chicago, whatever, would that change your decision?
No, I attended graduate school for my master's degree at Boston University, which is a very metropolitan college, very big city if you've never heard of it. And I felt completely safe on campus there. I've taught at urban campuses, more rural environments. I just don't think the size of our campus impacts the safety. I think that I feel safe because of who we have defending us here, who we have protecting us, our cadets and our law enforcement officers here on campus.
Okay. All right.
I would say no, the size of the campus doesn't really matter. In fact, I would think with a larger campus, the more students, the more chance you have at creating more damage with a weapon than you do on a smaller campus. So yeah, I would venture to say no, larger campuses probably should have less guns on campus.
Okay. Scott?
I'd say it's not so much the size of the campus, it's the type of campus, which also is related to its size. Because what we don't have here is we don't have residence halls. It's a commuter campus, which means that people are constantly coming in and off of campus. But if you have residence halls, then you get all sorts of other things that you have to deal with, which is, let's say, for instance, assaults, rapes, things like that. And I think on those campuses that, yeah, that more than likely that they would want concealed carry even more, because those campuses would be less safe than this campus is because of those situations.
Well, would that be on campus or in the dormitories?
Well, the dormitory is still campus.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying.
I mean, if you look at the Virginia...
In their rooms or in their classrooms? Should I have a gun in where I live, or should I be able to carry one in my classroom?
Well, on those campuses, they're allowing students to have guns in the dormitories and in the classrooms.
Tim?
I would say that it doesn't matter the size of the campus. I think our particular student body matters in a sense that what we would support and what we would in particularly want here. But I don't think that the size of the university plays into what my thinking on it at all.
Okay. John?
I agree. I don't really think that the size of the campus really matters at all. I think that's kind of short, so.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. Indiana state law currently prohibits concealed firearms in K through 12 and daycare facilities, but no such